Finally, we've got another Tom Cruise masterpiece.
We've been
I'm
waiting so long since we did Top Gun way back in the day.
yeah. I mean, what else is there?
All of
Interview
them.
with a Vampire, I guess.
Edge of Tomorrow,
Oh, that's a good one. What about Risky
I'm gonna bring that one up
Business?
later.
Cocktail.
Oh yeah. All right. We got a lot we got to do. I'm
There's
Erin.
hits, baby. I'm Tom.
This is Baby's First Watch List, the podcast where we watch movies and determine whether we want our sons to watch them one day. Although today we can add a daughter to the mix because it's a very special episode. We have a very special guest,
Yes.
soon to be dad in his own right, Uncle Nick W.
One of the many Uncle Nicks.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, we have a lot of Uncle Nick. So this is Uncle Nick W with his premiere appearance on the podcast.
Before I
I've been
forget,
holding out specifically for Tom Cruise.
yeah,
So
we've been begging to get him
yeah.
on the podcast, but he said no, not until you do a Tom Cruise movie again since Top
And
Gun.
then-
So here,
Yeah.
here we are.
And then he was like, okay. So, Uncle Nick, you're going to be a dad in only, like, listen, it could be a couple hours, it could be a couple days, it could be a couple weeks.
We're in the window.
We have a date,
You have a date.
like an induction. date.
Yes.
So if nothing else, then the 8th.
At the very latest.
Yes.
That's so exciting. How does it feel? How does it feel to be almost an official dad?
just having an existential crisis, 50% of the day.
That's normal.
That doesn't end.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your nesting to be here. And since it's your first appearance, we like to get all of our guests to talk about like your philosophy on movie watching. What made you start liking it? Watching movies. What do you like about watching movies? Just like give us a vibe.
Okay, so I had to think about this because I actually had no idea before Tom sent me the question earlier. But probably my dad started me on movies when I was little, going to not Blockbuster because we did not have a Blockbuster in my town.
Block
So it
Blister.
was never Blockbuster. Yeah, Blockbuster. It was always just like the local Laneco had a video section for rental. There was like a local video mart to rent, but there was never Blockbuster. But it was always like going there on Friday or Saturday and picking out a movie to VHS to watch at home. And then probably starting around 8th grade, what did you guys do for fun with your friends on the weekends?
I only hung out with my parents and sister.
Okay, nice.
I think that was when I was like playing basketball every day.
Gotcha. So it was just I was a mall rat, and at the mall they had a movie.
I was a
theater.
mall rat too.
And that was my Friday night and Saturday night for 8th grade through all of high school. And so it was we're going to see a movie, and we're going to get there an hour early so we can walk around the mall, and we're going to stay an hour late to finish up at the mall. And that's our entire night. So it was just movies like every week.
Yeah,
Would
that
you
was how I
get-
ended up watching. That was how I ended up watching Big Mama's House too.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get Annie Ann's beforehand?
Always Annie.
You have to.
And then Sarku Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those were the two.
Good. So what do you say, like, if you had like a favorite type of movie, what's your thing with movies that you're like, oh, I'm in?
Well, I mean, if you looked at my letterbox, it's probably like, is it Tom Cruise? Yes, because I've seen a lot of Tom Cruise movies. Overall, I'm much less character driven than I think you guys are. Although character has to be a part of the plot driver.
Ethan Hunt.
right?
Ethan Hunt is a character.
He is definitely a character. He's Tom Cruise. But yeah, so I'm more plot driven. If the plot reels me in from like 30 seconds of a trailer, I cut the trailer and I'm already like ready to watch the movie. And then characters have to drive that farther. Like that's where I use the characters. If the characters don't help move the plot, then it does not like sit as well as a good combination of both.
I know that you and Tom in particular fight about movies sometimes.
I
Quite
don't think we're gonna fight about this one because I really like this movie.
I did
Oh,
too.
perfect.
Let
I actually hated
let
it.
me give a little background. I don't know, Nick, how much like wiki looking up did you do for this?
0.
Oh, great. This is going to be perfect then.
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible, Mission colon impossible. I love when movies have little pieces of punctuation in their titles.
And they're
Um
used correctly.
yeah, that's always a plus. It's a 1996 action movie based on the spy TV series of the same name from the 60s. That ran for 7 seasons. And then there was also a sequel series that ran for only 2 seasons in the late
Yikes.
80s. Yeah. And I did
Anyone
not know
famous in
that.
them?
Huh?
Anyone
Not
famous in them?
not really in like the 80s one.
The original one had like 1 or 2 names I recognized.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you,
not like
all right,
Cruise.
fun fact. I guess spoiler alert for the movie. In the beginning, when that whole crew with like Estevez and Kristen Scott Thomas and all them was originally supposed to be the cast of the original series,
Oh, that would have been
Oh, that's
genius.
cool.
and every single one of them said no
Yeah, because they'd be
sucked.
killed off immediately.
No, because the script sucked.
The script, that's
Rough.
probably not my favorite part of this movie. So, the movie, directed by Brian De Palma of Carrie, Scarface, and the Untouchables fame, was a little different from the hyperviolence and rated R content he came to be known for. This one is pretty PG-13, although the
Yeah.
Estevez death scene's a little like, what?
Yeah, like Final Destination-y.
Yeah, definitely.
But De Palma said he needed a hit. So
Well,
took
he
this
got
movie.
one. He got a
Yeah.
big hit. So, okay, they like had a stacked crew. The screenplay was by David Cope, who's known for a lot of stuff, including Jurassic Park and the original Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire movie. And then Robert Towne. Tom, do you know who Robert Towne is?
He's
What did he
a
write?
Screenwriter. Did he write Jaws?
He wrote Chinatown.
Chinatown.
And so it's Oscar winning, and like people say that that's one of the best screenplays ever. And the story was by Cope and Steven Xylon, who is an Oscar winning screenwriter for Schindler's List. He also was nominated for Awakenings, Gangs of New York, Moneyball, The Irishman, all the dad movies, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
was the creator of The Night Of.
This movie was very much set up for success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the screenplay compared to this pedigree, I'm like,
This dude wrote one of
where?
the most acclaimed screenplays of all time, and then this, which is I didn't think. I mean, I don't know.
It's not
kept
bad.
Me,
It works.
It kept me engaged.
Yeah. So cinematographer Stephen H. Burham, who was Oscar nominated for the movie Hoffa, and editor Paul Hirsch, who's
Speaking
Oscar
of The
winning.
Irishman.
For Star Wars. He did the original Star Wars he edited. They led the crew along with King Danny Elfman,
Yes.
who we all know and love.
Is he? Do we love him? I feel like he had some. Go ahead.
He had stuff
Yep,
going on
yep.
in his wiki page.
Yeah, no, we don't love Danny Elfman.
Oh, no, I lied. We don't love Danny Elfman.
We don't love Danny Elfman.
How many times has this happened? I'm like, my king, and then immediately it's like, no, he's had some allegations.
Okay, yeah, no. So we disavow. He has an entire section of sexual harassment lawsuits on his Wikipedia page. That's a
I feel
no.
like you guys are trying to trap me into this one. I disavow too.
Yeah, we're out. We're out on Elfman.
To quote Elfman's song from Nightmare Before Christmas, what's this?
He literally. Yeah. So we're out on the big elf.
Okay, never mind, Elfie. So anyway, talking about non-controversial figures, this movie stars Tom Cruise,
John Voight.
John Voight. Oh God. Emmanuelle Béart, she's just French in it. She's just like Anna de Armas.
She's French Anna de
Yes.
Armas.
Literally, I'm watching this. I'm like, she's French Anna de Armas, and about same acting quality.
That is Best Actress nominee Anna de Armas to you.
I hated Blonde. That movie was so bad. Ving Rhames, I do like him,
Yes.
and
Wait,
Queen.
let me double check that. No, I'm just kidding. He's fine.
He's fine. And Queen Vanessa Redgrave. Kristen Scott Thomas, who had a star-making turn, aka she's already a star, in Fleabag a couple years ago, and Emilio Estevez also have supporting roles, but don't tell Emilio Estevez because he was not in the credits.
No, he was not.
Uncredited. Here's a really cool fun fact. Did you know that while at SUNY Purchase studying acting, classmate Stanley Tucci gave Ving Rhames the nickname Ving?
Wow.
Stanley Tucci gave him the nickname.
We got to put. That's a Hall of Fame move by Tucci.
It is.
Can I just ask what his real name is?
I think it's Irving.
Oh.
And
It
so
is Irving Ramses Rhames.
which is a
I
great
never even
name.
questioned it. I just thought Ving was his name.
Yeah. Well, that's because of the Tooch.
He was named the Tooch. He was named Irving after NBC journalist Irving R. Levine.
That's pretty neat. Maybe
Yeah.
we should name our son Ving.
Ving. Or just Vin.
Or
After
Vin.
Diesel.
Vin Diesel, yeah. Originally going to be helmed by director Sidney Pollack, Mission Impossible had a lot of script issues to the point where the film went into pre-production with no finished script at all.
This makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense.
That's happened on sequels as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Filmed mostly in England and Prague, which like multiple times on the Wikipedia page they like kept emphasizing how big of a deal it was because it was a rarity at the time to film in Prague. Apparently, it filmed in 1995, and
I feel like every single John Wick movie is filmed in Prague.
nowadays Prague is trendy and popular,
Yeah.
but back then apparently it wasn't.
Well, it was like mid '90s. It was probably during like the Balkan conflicts, like this, like all that stuff. So
Yeah, I
feel
know
like it was
all about that.
Well, it was Czechoslovakia. There was civil war going on, so they probably weren't there. People probably weren't there that much.
My eyes like just glaze over when I hear about parts of Europe that I like forgot existed.
Yeah, there was like genocide going on. It was not good.
That is not good at all. So they filmed there though, so that's nice for them.
I don't. Well, to be fair, I don't know if it was going on in Prague. I know it was more down in like Serbia, which is like not Czech Republic, but further down.
Well, all right. They filmed in Prague, and also very unique. The film was delivered on time and under budget, despite the fact that there were lots of rumors that the director and the star did not get along. They put it all together for the sake of their craft.
De Palma's
I
kind
gotta
of like,
say that's pretty shocking.
yeah. De Palma's kind of like, I don't think he's like an auteur type, but he's definitely a director that I have heard is like a little overbearing. So I could see him and Cruise clashing for sure.
Which is kind of
100%.
funny because it's like it's not like he's making, like
De Palma?
yeah.
People love his stuff. He did a lot of like thrillers and like stuff like that people really like.
I know
Like
he got
Blowout.
very, very
I
mixed.
think he did Body Double.
He did
Yeah,
do
he
Body
did.
Double.
He gets kind of mixed reviews critically, but Ebert and Pauline Kael both like him.
He's really respected in like the film community.
Yeah, I've only seen Carrie in this.
I think I've only seen Scarface in this and like the first 20 minutes of Carlito's Way.
Okay, well,
I've seen all of those, like all of his major ones: Untouchables, Carlito's Way,
Oh, I've
Scarface.
seen-
I saw them all like in high school, but
I've
I
seen-
haven't
yeah.
seen. I haven't seen, I think, any of them since.
I've seen
So they-
Untouchables as well, but it was also in high school.
is that a Western?
No,
No,
It sounds like it would be.
no, it's
no,
the,
it's like
Elliot
Mob?
Ness,
yeah.
like FBI. Yeah,
Okay, so in May
Andy Garcia's in it.
Oh well, I do like Andy Garcia.
It's like an Al Capone movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in May 1996, Mission Impossible, this is a cool fact, became the first movie to be released in over 3,000 theaters in the U.S. It ended up being a huge commercial success. It netted $457.7 million on a mere $80 million budget, which is amazing.
I
It,
read
like-
that the budget was supposed to be like 30 to 50, and then Cruise was like, no. We're going to 80, baby.
Yeah, well, and honestly, like 80 million for a big movie like this is great. Like
Yeah.
that's doing it under
Now this
budget.
movie would be $400 million.
I
Yeah.
wonder how much the budget is for the new one.
I'll look it up right now.
Probably a lot. It didn't fare quite so well critically. It did earn mixed reviews. Um, but there are a couple of scenes that are very much praised for the actionness of them and whatever. The tension, all that kind of stuff.
I watched some of the extras and on the Blu-ray that Palesi gave us, and they like went through the helicopter scene,
Yep.
and the like the computer room.
Those are the
CIA
two.
computer room scene,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
the scene where he blows up all the water tanks with the gum.
And jumps out the
Yeah, and like it went through all of those and showed how they did all of those. It was pretty cool.
Well, Tom, you listed the
Yeah.
ones that people are most impressed by.
Yeah.
So you got it.
Shout out to the extras on the Blu-ray.
There were decidedly negative reviews from the cast members of the original show. So,
did
Tom,
see
you
that. I
mentioned
did.
that earlier. It has proven to be a very successful franchise with many sequels released. The 8th movie, which will probably be titled Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2, but maybe not because it's currently called Untitled. So
They changed it.
they're changing it?
It's no longer Dead Reckoning Part 2. They
What
changed
is it?
So they changed Dead Reckoning Part 1 to just Dead Reckoning. And
Ah.
they're going to create an entire new name. Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
and Dead Reckoning, I just looked up, it was a $291 million budget.
Okay, a little different.
Yeah.
Did it
Um,
have a? I mean, no spoilers because eventually I'll get to it. But like, did it have a cliffhanger ending? Like, was it like
Yes.
this is the end of part 1?
Yes. It was very obviously Part 1.
I feel like they just want like a cool name.
Yes.
They'll be like,
Mission
we'll just do a
Impossible Dead
different cool
Reckoning
name.
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is like the most absurd. It's 6 words.
And there's multiple punctuation marks. There's dashes
Yeah.
in it,
Numbers.
numbers. Yeah, and they're in Roman numeral. It's just
It's
like
Part
what?
1, but it's also Mission Impossible 7.
It's 2
I
different
just-
numbers.
Yeah.
Do I love that or hate that? I don't know.
No, I love it.
As I'm like reading all of the titles, I'm like, I'm not writing all these down because they all have progressively longer and weirder titles.
It's great.
So I'm excited for whatever the second one will be called. The 8th movie. And it's set to be released in a little over a year, May 2025.
Maybe it'll be like Mission Impossible 9 Part 1 or Part -1.
Yeah, I
Just to
kind
add another layer of confusion.
of wish they would just leave part 1 for Dead Reckoning, and then you
Right?
just the second one just has a different name, and then it's still part 1 though.
It's similar to Fast X, which
Yes.
was Part 1 of Fast X and Fast 11. I guess.
Yeah. So I have one NJ connection before I send it to Tom, and that is a real easy one. Director Brian De Palma. He is from Newark.
Newark guy.
Newark dude.
Is he in
So,
the New Jersey Hall of Fame?
I don't know. He should have a rest stop named after him.
He should have a wrestler. We can get rid of who is it? The trees poet,
Oh, be nice to Joyce Kilmer.
Joyce Kilmer.
So, Tom, what
Alright,
do
you-
you got for us?
I'll give you the taglines first. They're all
Oh,
like
yeah.
very action movie taglines.
They're like, he's a spy.
All right. Only the mission matters. That's not a good one.
It's fine.
It's true.
Yeah,
Every second counts.
that's good.
That's like, but that's also like Speed. That's also
Yeah.
like a bomb movie.
Well,
I feel
okay.
like that actually is very much so less pertinent in this movie than any of the sequels.
There's 2 more. One man has one chance to do the impossible.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Mission Impossible. See?
The last one, I think just gets straight to the point. Expect the impossible.
I like that one. That's
That's-
catchy. That's snappy.
That's the best of the 4.
Also, Nick,
Only
we're
the mission matters. Only the mission matters also applies to like Saving Private Ryan. Like there's 5,000 movies that.
well,
could be.
Saving Private Ryan didn't come out yet.
But what I'm saying is, expect the impossible
Only
is
this
Mission
movie.
Impossible.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's the one.
It's either this movie or like Free Solo. Like something that's like, how did this person, or Naiad?
Although I do think that there was a movie called Something Impossible, not Mission Impossible.
No, there wasn't.
And I feel like, oh yeah, no, it's called The Impossible.
Oh yeah, that's
The
about the
Impossible.
tsunami.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Naomi
I don't wanna-
Watts.
I don't want to expect that impossible.
No, this is a better Impossible.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we just? Yeah. All right. So I'll just start with my notes, which this was a doozy, man. So right in the beginning, I just wrote, "We are off and running" when Cruz pulls off that mask for the first time,
That's pretty cool.
and they're like
Yes.
looking from the other room, and they're like making sure that, you know, the one guy gets poisoned after they find the name of the guy that they're looking for or whatever. First of all, none of it makes any sense to a person who's like has no idea what's going on. And
But that's
two,
part of the fun.
it is, but also I love the whole thing in this movie of just pulling the face off.
Love it.
It's so good. It happens like 4 times.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's
that-
a recurring theme.
in every
is-
movie.
It is great.
Oh no,
I
It's-
love that.
That is part of the mission every single time.
I absolutely love that.
Cruz needs
real
to pull
quick.
his face off.
Yeah, yeah.
Before
Go
we
ahead.
go past the opening scene, I just got something. It doesn't make sense because they set up this whole situation where they're in what looks like a single room. And when they break down this room, they show you that it's actually all a warehouse,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? How did they get this guy into this room thinking that he's going into a hotel without him realizing that he's walking down a corridor with no other rooms that just leads to this one single fake hotel room?
Expect the impossible.
Where was the lobby?
Expect
There's
the
no
impossible.
lobby. Does he think that it's just one floor? Did he go through a back entrance thinking that this woman was sneaking him into her hotel room? I don't understand how they got him
maybe.
here. But
So-
they broke it down and then very evidently showed you that it was just one room in the
Yeah.
dead center of a
Yes,
warehouse with
yes.
nothing else. So it was kind of, you just have to, it was impossible they did it.
Yeah. So Roger Ebert, who gave this movie 3 out of 4 stars and a thumbs up, said, "This movie expects you to live in the instant.
Yes.
You don't need to worry about anything else besides what's happening on screen."
Right.
He also said he had no idea what was happening at any time in this movie.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah. Next thing I wrote was, this is obviously before the reveals. I wrote, "So this Galitzin guy stole one half of the list of Eastern European deep cover agents, and now he's going to steal the other half with the real names. And that's kind of badass." All right, here we go. Less than 10 minutes into the movie, I wrote down my
He
guess
guessed the
for-
whole thing.
for the movie. I wrote, "My guess is that a bunch of these people die in the mission, Tom Cruise gets framed, and it turns out that John Voight orchestrated it. Voight has to be bad because he's wearing patterned suspenders, and then in the following scene, he's wearing a fuzzy sweater. He's not like the rest of the wisecracking gang, and his clothes make him more vaguely sinister.
Also, he's married to like the hot one.
The hot young girl."
Yeah.
And he's a lot older.
A
Yes.
few minutes later, I think I wrote that she was involved too, but that was my first crack, and yeah, I was right.
Also, and Tom Cruise loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's his guy. He's like he would die for him.
Right. My next thing I wrote, when Estevez hands Cruz the red and green gum, my favorite quote of the whole movie: "Hasta lasagna, don't get it on ya." What?
Chinatown.
This guy wrote Chinatown.
Yeah.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
And hasta lasagna. Don't get it
Yep.
on ya.
Brilliant dialogue. Estevez sells it though.
Yeah, I believed it. I was like, quack, quack,
So
quack.
So when they're carrying out this original plan and Ethan is like that senator or whatever, I wrote, "I love the idea that Ethan can find out his mission and then in like a day have absolutely perfect prosthetic face masking like of a high profile senator and
Yes.
the ability to imitate him, like his personality, like, and no one noticed.
Daniel Day-Lewis over here.
Literally, he is the greatest. He should be in the Oscar winning business."
To be
Ethan
fair,
Hawke.
they did pick a senator that looked just like Tom Cruise in a mask.
That is not. I also wrote, "It would be great if he Carl Havoc this."
Tom, what
Shout
senator would he be today?
out Bob Menendez.
Oh God, get him out, bro. Gold bars
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, I wrote, oh my God, Estevez getting impaled in the elevator shaft. Did not see that Final Destination death coming.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I obviously knew he was uncredited, so I figured he was going to die or something was going to happen. But like, I didn't expect like the impaling of the elevator spike into his face.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Then I wrote, now Voight wants to abort the plan and cut all communication, and then he gets killed. Yeah, he's totally bad.
So also with him dying, very immediately they show the gun that kills him,
Yeah,
and it couldn't be more obvious that it's him.
it's like
with
him
the
like
gun like this, this pointing right at himself. So
I love that
that
they show it later too.
yeah, as if you
Brilliant.
couldn't have like put that together on your own.
Brilliant. After he sees Kristen Scott Thomas and the other guy like killed up against the fence, he just like sprints away. And I just wrote, is there better cinema than Tom Cruise just sprinting?
Sprinting.
What is this the first movie that Tom Cruise runs in?
I don't think so.
There's simply
No?
no way.
It's impossible. He had to have sprinted in Top Gun.
Top Gun.
I'm sure he sprinted in
No.
Cocktail too.
There was no sprinting in Top Gun. He rode
Okay.
a
They didn't go on a
motorcycle.
run.
No. Definitely not. I think this might be the first movie that he sprints. Dead sprint.
If anyone's made it 26 minutes into this episode and can find out whether this the first time Tom Cruise sprinted in a movie, we will send you a $5 gift card to somewhere.
Who's we? I'm not sending nothing.
I've come into some money. No, I
okay.
haven't. Also, another one of my favorite quotes, when he's sprinting away, he runs to like a payphone or whatever, and he calls, I forget who he calls, and he just goes, "This is Ethan Hunt. They're dead." And his delivery on the line is just so like Tom Cruise crazy eyes, like classic stuff.
Just looked it up. First movie he sprints in.
Stop it.
It wasn't until the mid-1990s that Cruise really hit his stride, not coincidentally, at around the time Mission Impossible series kicked off. The more Tom Cruise runs in movies, the more money the movies make. And that was when he started running. Before that, it was mostly light jogging and moments of panicked sprinting in movies like Endless Love and Losing It. But this was the first movie in an action role that he sprinted it in.
We
I
should
am
have never
stunned.
doubted
He
you.
hasn't stopped sprinting since.
I am stunned. That is beautiful. I love that. And oh man, yeah. It's just like I can picture it in my head. I would have assumed that he's done it in every single movie he's ever been in.
Because
The Color of
since-
Money, Martin Scorsese. Yeah, 1986. I see it in my head. He didn't do it, I guess.
No.
A Few Good Men. Yeah, I guess he didn't. But whatever. I don't know.
Oh, if you could bend, that was a good one.
Then the next scene, he's talking to that Kittredge guy. Is he a CIA guy or whatever? Whoever he is.
He was mean.
I just wrote a mole hunt, 2 exclamation points. The gum, 3 exclamation points. We love you, Emilio, 3 exclamation points. Electric scene. It's when he blows everything up and the
The water.
the water flows out, and then he's sprinting again, sprinting off into the Prague night. I actually wrote down something about that scene. So it was shot at 2 different locations. The tank explosion and his jump through the restaurant window were actually just at Paramount Studios. And then the part where he's running into the street with the water rushing behind him was actually in Prague, because you see the whole
It has to be.
background of the square.
Sorry. Abe.
But it's pretty cool that it was like, it's movie magic, you know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And then he's back at his apartment or wherever he's holed up at, the hotel or whatever it is, and the safe house. And I love how he happens to figure out the clue that was Job 314 by like randomly catching a Bible out of the corner of his eye and then opening up the Bible and being like, is it Job 314? Like, it's maybe the dumbest part of the entire movie, the way that he figures that out. But it's electric because it's Cruise, and you're like, the second he looks up and you see Holy Bible, you're like,
He figured it out.
he figured it out. I will say, a lot of times I find that protagonists, not necessarily in action movies, but in like kind of twisty movies, are really dumb. Ethan Hunt is not dumb.
No, he's
Definitely
not.
not dumb.
He figures out like this whole plan, like really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And then Claire comes in and he's like, "Wake up, Claire!
Wake up,
Jim's
Claire!"
dead."
Best line of the movie.
There's so
Wake
many
up,
good
Claire!
lines. Jim's dead. Then he
And
meets
then
up
they
with
have an
Max.
affair.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wrote he's definitely hooking up with her, and then Voight and her are the bad guys.
Yeah. You got it.
Then he meets up with Max, who is like the arms dealer that ends up being Vanessa Redgrave, which is a nice little twist.
Yeah, Queen.
Apparently it was written for a guy, and then they were like, "Why don't we just ask Vanessa Redgrave?" He's completely unhinged in that scene when he's got his hands tied behind his back. He's got the bag over his head, and he's just barking orders. He's like offering like he's like, "All right, well, I'll take $150,000," and he's like laughing in Max's face.
Oh
He's
yeah, I
just,
like that scene.
It's classic Cruise because like there's just insanity behind his eyes.
There's an unleveled confidence.
Yeah. I wrote great tech in this movie. We have exploding gum, but we also have below AOL level emailing and prominent uses of floppy disks.
Can I, real quick, with the
Yeah.
emailing Job 314 at Bible.com repeatedly?
Yeah, feel free to jump in. Feel free to jump in whenever.
That's a question. I just don't understand. Because he always made it to Job 314 at Bible.com or whatever it was. And his email, he didn't even make an email, but then he like named himself Job 2. And I just...
Yes.
And I'm like, how you didn't make an email, and how are you going to receive this email? And I grew up in the 90s, but I'm not understanding this mode of like internet usage. And I know that this is spy stuff, but he's just using the regular internet. There's no
for
tricks
spies.
here.
For spies, the tech here is just brutal. Like you would think that they
yeah.
would have better tech.
Did
like
not.
I said, they've got exploding gum.
Yeah.
But they don't have like exploding gum that isn't like, oh, it like poofs into your hands. Like no, it like destroyed a building.
Yeah.
But
other than a mask that perfectly disguises you as another person, the tech in this movie is extremely low.
It's like an invisibility cloak in Harry Potter. Like it's like magic. The mask.
Yeah.
I wrote that Tom Cruise should be on The Traitors next season.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you watch The Traitors at all?
I don't know what that is.
It's on Peacock.
Aaron,
I
feel
don't
free.
have Peacock.
Oh, it's so good. It's like if The Mole took place in a Scottish castle in the Highlands.
Oh, reality TV show.
Yeah, and it's all reality TV stars. It's so good. It's so
And you have to
good.
figure out who the traitors are.
No, you
Okay.
don't have to figure it out.
Well,
They have to figure it. You
the
already know.
participant. Yeah,
It's
and
so
I think Cruise
amazing.
would be one of those people that you have to get rid of immediately because you couldn't tell if he was on your side or not, no matter what.
Yeah.
I also wrote Claire is Job. They gave the hint with Max being a woman. Job is too. So I was like half right on that one.
Oof.
So what is that? A 97? Was it still an A+?
Nope.
That's pretty good.
Seeing Ving Rhames in this movie was kind of weird to me because like Pulp Fiction was 2 years before this. And I don't know, this movie feels like more modern to me than Pulp Fiction does. In my head, I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in a while.
What year was Pulp Fiction? Was that 92?
94.
94. It feels more like a late 80s movie than it does a 90s movie. And
It doesn't feel like they're 2 years apart.
No, and this movie feels closer to a 2000s movie. But it fits pretty well in that like mid 90s era.
Yeah,
Pulp
I'd say
Fiction
so.
feels like earlier than that.
Well, it was, so. No,
Only
yeah,
2
no,
years.
it's just weird to me. Like, I kind of almost thought that like Ving Rhames was in Pulp Fiction and had disappeared, but like he really wasn't. He's been in stuff like forever.
I liked
just
him in
haven't
this movie.
He was really good. They cast him because they were like, yeah, no, you would never expect a hacker to look like him. He's like big, he's jacked, he's bald. Like,
And he never uses muscle.
yeah.
Not just in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
In every movie, he's gets bigger and bigger, and he never uses an ounce of muscle. He's only a tech guy. That's it.
It's like if Fast and Furious, if instead of Ludacris being the tech guy, it was Tyrese. Shout out to the crew for stealing the knock list in the scene in the CIA area at 9:58 a.m.
Yeah, it was early.
It popped up on the screen and it was like 9:58 a.m. Everything downloaded onto the onto the CD.
They're getting it in before Kelly and Mark is over.
Did they? Must have been Regis and Kathy Lee back then.
Yeah.
During when they were filming that scene though, so that's the scene when Cruz is hanging by the wire.
That's my favorite scene.
And he comes down and he lands right next to the ground. He can't touch the ground, otherwise the big alarm's gonna go off or whatever. And then the guy up top, there's a rat that comes into the duct with him, and he's freaking out, and there's all this tension.
Gene Reno.
Yeah, it is. And then, so while they were filming that scene, obviously Cruz did the majority of his stunts in this movie. I read that he didn't do all of them, but he did do that one. And this made no sense to me. While filming the famous scene where Tom Cruise drops from the ceiling and hovers inches above the ground, Cruise's head kept hitting the floor until he got the idea to put coins in his shoes.
Yeah, it evened it out.
And apparently it evened it out, and he was able to stay correctly.
Yeah.
Sure.
It makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm not a physicist, but whatever, man.
Just wear heavier shoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I read that the guy who plays the CIA analyst that was throwing up as the diversion for them to get the knock list is coming back for the 8th movie.
Actually.
Why? Actually, yeah. He has not been in any of the other ones, but I went to his Wikipedia page and it was untitled
from
8th
Alaska.
Mission Impossible film. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they sent him to Alaska, right? That's what they said. I like that. So around this point is when Phelps, John Voight, kind of comes back into the picture and reveals to Ethan that he's alive when he's in London. And I like that, kind of piggybacking off of what I said before, I like that Ethan knows it's him as soon as he shows up.
Yeah.
He knows that he's the bad guy as soon as he shows up.
There was no, I think he might be okay. He was just, he knows. There's no deception there.
Yeah, and then he's sitting there, and they're at the table or whatever when Phelps is trying to tell him about what quote unquote happened. And Ethan just going through everything that he figured out, who blew up the car, who, that Claire was involved, that he plays it all out, and I love that because so many times these protagonists are so stupid,
right? And they just fall into the trap. Yeah, and it's nice to see him feeling it out and in real time.
Yeah, and you can pull that off with Cruz, even though he's kind of a psychopath who you'd expect to just be really impulsive, and I guess impulsive is the right word. It's an interesting. He's an interesting actor because you can pull off him being smart also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also, so Voight's talking about how the CIA has kind of been sidelined since the Cold War was over, and I found this to be an interesting period of time for this movie because it is after the Cold War and it's before 9/11, so it's in this strange period where we're not loading up on our military, we're not loading up on our we're kind of, as the U.S., we're kind of I don't want to say kind of complacent, but it's just a weird. I can't think of another period of since World War II, it was all Cold War, Cold War, Cold War, Korea, Vietnam, all that, and then since 9/11, it's been constant conflict. So this is the one period of time where there's really, other than the Balkan stuff and the stuff in Eastern Europe, which we're talking about here, Gulf War I think was 94. So this is even after that.
Yeah.
So I just find it to be such a weird little time period to set a spy movie in.
Right.
But super interesting. Just something I noted. So Ethan meets up with Phelps, right? And then Phelps is don't tell Claire I'm alive, even though she obviously knows. And then Ethan goes back, and then it's implied that he just hooks up with Claire.
Yeah.
Did he? Because I didn't think that he did. I thought he looked at her and was I know that you're also in on it, and I'm not doing this. And that's why it's cut to black to make the viewer think, oh, maybe he did hook up with her. But actually, he didn't, because he knows what's going on, and he's like salty about it.
Listen, it's Cruise. I saw what he did with Kelly McGillis in Top Gun. I think he did.
The first scene where that's implied, it also was a cut to black scene.
Yeah.
Right, that's my point. So they made you think it in the first one, and then you assume the same thing in the second one when really it's not. Also,
is brilliant
Cruise does,
work.
other than having like a minor kissing scene, he doesn't have any like sexual scenes in any of these movies.
That's interesting.
That is hilarious.
There's really not like a large
It's like the anti-James
relationship
Bond
interest, other than one movie that like vaguely continues on in the third one. It vaguely continues on, but it's not like, it doesn't take over the series, and there's never like single emotional moments where it's like physically emotional. If anything, it's always only like mentally emotional for him.
The whole thing is his mission, right? That's it.
Mission's the most important thing. He said it
That's
in the tagline.
Yeah, exactly. The Phelps face mask reveal, when he pulls off the mask when Claire's talking to him and she thinks it's Phelps.
How good.
Unreal. All I wrote was what a moment. And then when he's at gunpoint from Phelps and he puts the glasses on so Kittredge can see him, so he knows that somebody's there holding Cruise at gunpoint, like unbelievable stuff.
And then he also knows that John Voight's alive, so it's like, oh, well, this was the guy.
Yep, got the wrong mole. So then we get Phelps kind of escapes with the other tech guy, the Gene Reno guy, and one of the most absurd sequences is the helicopter in the channel.
Oh my god.
I love the idea. It looked so bad though. But it's great.
I liked it.
The helicopter did not look like it was going to fit into the tunnel when you were looking at the tunnel from the outside. But sometimes you get into a building and you're like, wow, this house is much more spacious than it looked like on the outside. So
true.
I guess it was that kind of situation.
And even if not, as Ebert said, this movie expects you to live in the instant, and that's what you got to do with the helicopter in the channel. But the funny part about I forgot to mention that Phelps just shoots Claire.
Yeah.
He's like, bye. Like, catch you later.
Did she die?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Loyal to no one but himself.
Yikes.
Yeah. So Krieger is now piloting the helicopter as like Cruise and Voight are like kind of like fighting atop the train, and it's like windy and Cruise is like about to get blown off the train. And so they get into the channel, which is the Channel Tunnel in England, and like the helicopter finally makes its way in. But the thing about it that like is crazy is Krieger, when he's piloting the helicopter literally in a tunnel, I've never seen a person look more bored in my entire life. Like, if you rewatch those scenes, every time it cuts to him, he's like, there's absolutely no emotion on his face whatsoever. He's the coldest. He is the coldest man I've ever seen. He's like less than inches away from destroying him, like destroying everything.
Spy.
He's an
He
excellent
killed
helicopter
multiple
pilot.
people.
Yeah.
Like, does he practice this? Like,
He's an excellent helicopter pilot.
And then so Cruise like jumps onto the helicopter, and then does he use the gum again?
Yes.
And he blows
He
up
loves
the helicopter.
that gum, man.
But I mean, shout out Emilio again. But when he blows up the helicopter, he gets like blown back over to the train.
Yep.
Which is so great. And then he barely misses getting decapitated by the blade. The helicopter blade, when it like comes to a stop.
Lands an inch away from his neck.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then you see like the close up on Tom Cruise, and like the train conductor just faints in the background. That was so ridiculous. I read that Cruise wanted to use the famously fast French train, the TGV, but the French authorities were like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing this stunt on this train," because of course Cruise wanted to do the train stunt legit.
Yeah. Same movie now. That train gets used.
100%. Because they got enough money, they'll just pay the extra $310 million right to the French authorities.
Oh yeah.
And make the same movie. He wanted wind that was so powerful that it could knock him off the train. And he had difficulty finding the right machine that would use the right like accurate wind velocity. Before he remembered a simulator he was using while training as a skydiver. The only machine of its kind in Europe was located and acquired. He had it produce winds up to 140 miles per hour so it would distort his face. And it was filmed on the southwestern line of like the Glasgow train in Scotland. And most of the sequence was filmed on a stage against a blue screen, and it was all like put in post. But it's great. So Ethan makes his way up the train, and then he goes to like a Dark Knight Rises style dinner with Ving Rhames, and then that's the end of Mission Impossible.
Woo.
No, the very
Wait,
end, he gets a
the
new
very
mission.
end. He gets a new mission,
in
right?
the Caribbean.
Yeah. Would you like to see a movie or whatever she said?
Yeah.
How about the cinema of the Caribbean?
See, in the same scene when Voight gets the video at the beginning, Voight starts smoking in order to pretend like, oh, it's not the video that just burned up in its little cartridge container. It's me smoking. No one noticed it. Tom Cruise doesn't smoke. People definitely think that there's something that's on fire in his row. And that plane today, they go down immediately.
Yeah, again.
They're landing.
Again, this is pre-airport security, so
true.
Absolutely.
And you could also smoke on planes, so there's a lot less going on there.
Yes. Why don't we just start with what are your general thoughts on this movie?
Good.
Rated, yeah. What did you put it? What did you give it on Letterboxd, Nick? I think it was a 4.5, right?
Probably 4.5. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This is the least. This movie out of like the series of 7 is the one I've seen the least, other than the newest one.
Oh wow!
Which I've seen the newest one 2 times in theaters. So
I know you don't like 2. You've seen 2 more than this one?
Yes, because it's on TV more often.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all of the other ones they're on FX, or is it Spike? I think Paramount owns Spike now, right? So,
sure.
So they're all on TV like incessantly. And this one, just for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like rights to it or something, they just don't show it as often.
How does it rank within the list of 7?
Okay, so my list is 5, 4.
Wait,
no,
do you have the titles of
the
them?
titles?
Or do you want me to
Okay,
look them up?
5 is Rogue Nation.
Oh.
That's my favorite. 6 is Fallout. So that's my order. 5, 6. Sure. 7, which is Dead Reckoning. That was the last one. 4, which is Ghost Protocol.
Formerly Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Correct. 1 ranks 5th.
Okay.
3 is just Mission Impossible 3. There's no like undertitle. That's second to last, and then 2 is dead last.
Is there a large
the
gap?
New ones?
Oh, love the new ones. Yeah, which we can get, like, if you look at the director, so John Woo did 2.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly similar style to like Face Off. There's a ton of slow motion, lots of flips.
Hard boiled, Aaron.
It just doesn't fit in like cinematically with the rest of the movies, because there's so much slow. Like every time anyone does anything, it's in slow mo.
Also written by Robert Towne.
Yeah,
Chinatown fame.
Which it kind of fits well with. Like I think it came out in like 2002, so it like
2000.
2000, yeah. So that's like Matrix comes out at the same time, right? 99. So you're right there with like that slow mo. J.J. Abrams did 3, and it's got that like bluish hue to the actual. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Almost that Star Trek has
that Star Trek-y sci-fi like hue to it, and you can tell like watching it that he has his hand in it. 4 was Brad Bird.
Yeah, so it was animated.
The Incredibles.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was animated.
Right. So interestingly enough, on 4, he was directing, and they were having a ton of problems. They were trying to switch it over from Cruise to Jeremy Renner. So Renner was in Ghost Protocol with the idea that he was going to take the franchise over like he did with Bourne. Except Tom Cruise was like, I don't want that to happen.
No, sir.
They were having a real big problem like with potential marketing. like trying to transition to him, and Christopher McQuarrie came in to do rewrites on it, and he was like, "What are you doing? This is not a Jeremy Renner like movie. This is a Tom Cruise movie. He's the guy. Like, if you're not making him the guy, then it's not going to work." He did a ton of rewrites, and they ended up writing Jeremy Renner out of the next movie.
Really?
So he was in 5 out of 6. So he like got completely written out by the end of it, because they were like, we don't actually need him. They didn't kill him off because they figured in the future they could always bring him back, and they didn't want to like end that opportunity. But yeah, so Christopher McQuarrie comes in, he rewrites it, and then he ends up directing the last 3. And he and Tom Cruise are like best buds now, and they do everything together and plan on making like a ton of other movie franchises together, with like Tom Cruise to star.
So my question, no, Aaron, go ahead. I'm
It's
going to
just
sort
kind
of.
of weird to me. Like, it's not like Renner is like so much younger and
Right.
like this upstart. So like it makes sense that they'd be like, nah, we're just gonna stick with Cruise.
I think
he was younger in like a movie, like people,
Yeah.
younger in a fame sense.
Yeah.
I think Tom Cruise had us like there, because Ghost Protocol came out in I think 2012 maybe, and there was like a
11.
stint 11, yeah. So there was a time of like Tom Cruise isn't like a big star anymore. He tried to do
Yeah.
Valkyrie around that time period. I don't think
It
that
was
movie
15.
worked
It was
super
15
well.
years. I'm sorry, 5 years between 3 and 4. 15 years.
Yeah.
Geez.
I don't think Valkyrie worked super well as like a big hit for him. And he was no longer doing like, he wasn't having like this commercial success. People thought
Edge
he
of
was
Tomorrow
weird.
kind of flopped.
Yeah.
That
It
was
was
good
good,
though.
but
It was good.
money
Edge of
wise,
Tomorrow now, like people look back and they like it, but at the time, it wasn't like successful in the same way that Tom Cruise had been successful. So they were trying to like rebrand, and Jeremy Renner was up and coming. He was going to be in Marvel. He was, I think, Bourne came out later. Or
I was gonna ask what the like timeline was with Bourne as compared to. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
But yeah,
Was
so
it
it's
the Bourne
interesting.
Legacy. It was
Bourne Legacy, yeah. So it's interesting that like they were trying to switch it over to him, but it kind of makes sense that they were just looking for like a new action star, and he was
Sure.
there.
So you said that it like during the rewrites they kind of wrote him out.
So they didn't write. He was in Ghost Protocol. I'm pretty sure he was in
2011.
Rogue Nation, and then they ended up just writing him out of the script for any future ones, with the idea that they could bring him back. I think they were going to actually kill him off in the beginning of Fallout, and they decided to not even bring him back at all for it. And I don't think he was interested in coming back just to be killed off. So
yeah,
I think those two things.
What I see here is, so Ghost Protocol 2011, Bourne Legacy 2012, and then he was in Rogue Nation in 2015.
Yeah. So he was,
and then he got booted from Bourne also.
Yeah, yeah, because Matt Damon came
was
back.
like, yeah, I'll do it again.
I'll do another one.
Yeah. Aaron, questions?
Yeah, my only question is, if you were a spy in Mission Impossible, what would you do the best? For me, it would be killed off. I'd be killed off in the first scene. That's what I would do best as a spy.
You'd have gotten blown up in the car
Immediately.
The blonde one that just walks into the car and immediately dies. She doesn't have any lines, nothing.
I would
She
do
has
like
2
one
lines.
or two
Oh, okay.
wisecracks in the beginning, and then walk into a car and get blown up. That's
Yeah.
probably what I would do best.
Yeah, I specifically read that she had 2 lines.
Tom, what would you do best in this movie?
I think I would have figured out Job. I think I
Yeah,
would
you
have caught the
literally
Bible.
did immediately.
I would have caught the Bible out of the corner of my eye. I would have found it.
I'm not sure that I could do anything in this movie stunt wise other than jumping out of the aquarium.
Yes, that's
scene.
literally exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
For you.
When that scene happened, that was also in slow motion, and Amanda turns to me and she goes, "Is this the big stunt for the movie?" Because she's seen the new ones with me. She's like, "This
It's
is ridiculous.
way-
If this is the biggest stunt for the movie, this is not good." I was like, "Well, I guess it kind of is." There's a couple that none of them are crazy. It's the first one. But yeah, that's probably the only thing I could do. I've done a indoors.
You want to put 6 times the budget on it, we'll get you a better stunt.
No, but the thing is, I've done like indoor skydiving, And the way that Tom Cruise had to orient his body when he goes down into the CIA thing, that little room, and he has to keep his feet up and he has to keep his head
It's
up and arch
amazing.
his back. I
A
couldn't
lot
do
of
that.
balance.
I did.
All you gotta do is put coins in your shoes. That's all you have to do.
I don't think that would help me. I did the indoor skydiving and I was just like standing up the whole time, not going anywhere. I didn't go off the ground more than like 5 feet, and I was terrified. And that was indoors, so I don't think any of these stunts are for me.
Oh, I couldn't do any of the stunts. I would die instantly on every single one.
I definitely remember watching this movie the first time and being like, wow, that twist was great. So I wouldn't have gotten that either.
That's my only question.
Okay. So okay, so we already ranked the series. I'm looking at my questions. Oh yeah. So of course we have to disavow Tom Cruise as a person because
Yeah, of course.
there's a lot of baggage here. We don't have enough time to get into all of it.
Without
Yeah.
saying.
Unfortunately, I think he's quieted down in that realm as of recent, at least. He knows when to shut
At least
his mouth.
publicly.
Yeah.
Is he your favorite action star? Like just strictly movies?
Okay, here's the interesting thing. Tom Cruise as an action star. There's really not too much fighting.
No.
In these movies, I'm thinking through all 7 and I don't remember him using a gun once.
He
There are
fights
guns
Henry
that are
Cavill,
used.
right?
No, he does not fight Henry Cavill. They fight someone else together.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I guess technically he fights him at the end on the cliff. So,
What about
but,
in the
like,
bathroom?
In the bathroom, they fight someone else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Where he's
they're
like
not fighting
this?
each other. And then at the end of that movie, they end up on a cliff. But the fight scene on the cliff is more him trying to get a bomb trigger out of Cavill's hand. So it's less of like a straight up fight. It's not that. It's more like he's trying to get something in order to like not have a bomb go off.
Got it.
He's not like as an action star. He drives cars and he does stunts, but he doesn't fight. So like
he's not super violent.
He's completely different than like Keanu Reeves as an action star. He's completely different
Or
than
like
Jason Statham.
Arnold,
Stallone. Right? Because you have those. I mean, size wise, he's different than all of them too.
Yeah, right.
So he doesn't like fit that stereotype. As an action guy, I would probably go Keanu.
Okay.
Right now for like the John Wick movies and like what he does like physically like in terms of like fight styles, because that's fantastic to watch.
He's had a nice little career renaissance.
Oh yeah,
that's a
so does Cruise.
Yeah, but Cruise at least has been in, like, he was in Top Gun. Like this is like the natural evolution of Tom Cruise.
Right.
Like Keanu was in like Something's Gotta Give.
He was in Matrix.
He was in like Hardball. That's true. He was in Matrix. But like now it's like his thing.
Right. He was
to be
less
John
of an
Wick.
action star than he was just a guy.
Yeah, just an actor. What else we got? What is your favorite stunt of the big three?
It's the CIA room.
It has to be, right? Can you
It's
pick
the
any of the other
coolest
ones?
part.
It is really cool.
But
Also, he blew up a helicopter with a piece of gum and then got launched from the helicopter onto a train. Then almost got decapitated by a slowing down helicopter blade, and it came like an inch away from his face. That also happened.
Yeah, but which one of those two things did Super Baby Geniuses recreate?
I think you got me there.
The CIA scene is like, if you've never seen
Iconic.
Mission Impossible, you just know it because it's
right.
been in like every cartoon. Right? Like they
Yes.
anytime anyone needs to get something out of a room and they're coming in from above, that's always what they're like playing off of.
Yeah.
And it's been recreated a million times on like Nickelodeon shows. I bet you iCarly did that. Like all of these seriously, like all of these shows have redone that scene. It has to be like the best scene of the movie.
I agree. And I think, too, it's the most tension building scene.
Yes.
And I think that's important because a lot of times with action movies and stunts, it's the like boom, boom, ba, ba, ba. This is like slow and methodical, and you're like the whole
Right.
time. And I think that's something that is very, very cool.
Well, and then you get the rat thing happening in the duct at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was watching in the extras on the Blu-ray. They were talking about how that's like one of De Palma's signatures. Like his thing is like he builds tension in a way where it's sort of unconventional and it's very slow.
Yeah.
But that's just his style, and it was a good fit for that scene.
And if you look at that scene compared to the other scenes in the movie, you know he's not going to die, right? In any of the
But it doesn't matter.
in the major scenes, you know he's not going to die in the end like helicopter scene. But watching the CIA scene, he could fall.
He could get
the
caught.
alarms could go off, and then there could be a way for him to get out of it, but you don't know exactly how he's going to get out of it. And it's a little bit different than just surviving a big crash, right? He's using his like ability in a different way than we might have seen like in other areas of the movie.
True.
What else? Do you have like any like favorite like spy movies or shows or anything like that?
Okay.
The one that came to mind for me was Archer.
Oh, that's actually a fantastic one.
I didn't watch all of it, but the stuff that I did watch was very fun.
I liked Totally Spies when I was growing up.
What's the one with the kid with the other one with the kids where they were all like numbers?
Oh, Kids Next Door?
Kids Next Door. Yes.
Yeah, Kids Next Door.
Agent Cody Banks, that was good.
Spy Kids.
Spy Kids.
Yeah. We were
Shout
watching
out
this
Robert
movie.
Rodriguez.
Yeah, we were watching this movie, and Amanda said to me at one point during the helicopter scene, she was like, "This looks just like something out of Spy Kids." Like, oh, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I was never a big Bond fan. I didn't like the '90s Bond movies with Pierce Brosnan. I never watched anything earlier than the Pierce Brosnan movies, and from what I've heard, like the Pierce Brosnan ones don't get a lot of fanfare comparatively. So, but like
I watched GoldenEye because I played the game,
right?
And I like GoldenEye. That's the only one I've ever seen except for Skyfall, and I have like a strange well of knowledge about James Bond. But I've only seen like 2 of them.
I think I saw it was Halle Berry in The World Is Not Enough.
World's Not Enough, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that one, but I never liked them. I never thought they were like great. And I think the Mission Impossible movies actually were what I thought the Bond movies would be. So then when Casino Royale happened, 2006, I think Mission Impossible 3 came out the same year. And
yeah, you're right.
I saw both of them in theaters. And Casino Royale is like a slow burn. You need to
the Bond movies are always so long too. At least
they're long. It's a slow burn, and you need to pay attention to the little things that are happening in that movie, especially with like the card game and whatnot. I didn't like it. It wasn't an action movie. It wasn't what I thought like Bond was because I never really knew what Bond was.
Is that the one that Ralph Fiennes is in, or is that the one that Mads Mikkelsen is in?
Mads Mikkelsen's in that one. Yeah, and it's a really good movie, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be when I watched it. I thought it was going to be like this violent explosion of action, and it's not. So I saw Mission Impossible 3 and was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is what I thought I was going to watch when I saw Bond. So I think like the Mission Impossible movies took over that like big action movie series for me where I thought Bond might have like fit. I ended up really liking the Bond movies now. They're like more, they're a lot more clever. And how they're
apparently
told.
Like the early ones are apparently just really really like superficial and like not that good, but like they actually spent the Daniel Craig ones kind of like, at least the later Daniel Craig ones, kind of like exploring the character, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I like them a lot more now, but Mission Impossible took that place of like an action movie, and that's more of like an espionage movie.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Oh, Austin Powers also.
Oh, okay. Is that Aaron? You've seen Austin Powers, right?
Like kinda.
Oh,
not
okay.
really.
We gotta get on Austin Powers.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
There's no way that they age well. I haven't seen them in a very long time, but
definitely not.
We gotta watch them. We won't tell anybody.
The scene that I sent you guys of the Mission Impossible scene at, I think it's the second movie.
I think it's Goldmember.
Oh, is that the third movie?
Yeah.
That I think is actually the first Mission Impossible scene that I had ever seen because I watched Goldmember because everybody in school was talking about it.
I saw it with my brother in theaters.
Yeah, we were probably like 6th grade, 7th grade, maybe.
Too young.
Yeah, and so I saw that, and Tom Cruise is in that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And like years later, I watched the first Mission Impossible and realized like what it was playing off of.
Tom Cruise played a movie version in the movie of Austin Powers, and it was like Danny DeVito played Mini-Me in the movie version in Goldmember. I forget who the other
Kevin
actors were, but
Spacey was Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil, right? It was like the movie starts with like this fake movie being filmed.
That's
and
fun.
It cuts to Austin Powers being like on set with them and all that. It's a funny opening. Yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Okay. So this one comes from Amanda. What would your alias be if you were a spy?
I feel like we did something similar with Top Gun where we had our call signs.
Oh,
but I
you
don't
did,
remember,
yes.
But I don't remember what ours were.
Yeah. Call sign's a little different because you want people to know you as that call sign.
Yeah.
Mine would be very simple. It'd be like John Smith because I'm not clever. It'd be something very, or like Wick Nance.
Wow, I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, no
You
idea.
have to do it where it's your middle name and the street you grew up on.
Yeah,
So
I would put mine into I would do the Donald Glover, put mine into like a Wu-Tang name generator.
Yeah,
and it would
That's
come out
smart.
to be like, and it would be like Killer God or something like that.
All right. So, what are your favorite spy tropes? Or you could even say not necessarily spy, but like action movie in terms of like you have a leader in the action. You have one main guy and he has a group. So we could do it that way too.
For me, my spy trope, I love the gadgets.
Yeah.
Like the gum thing and the mask. Like that made the movie for me. All the glasses, all the stupid little things. Like like I think the iconic one is I don't know if it's from a Bond movie or something, but it's always like the exploding pen.
Yep.
Like just stupid stuff like that. Like who would think to make this an item that like causes mass destruction?
Yeah. Well, they had the pen in this one that shot the like nausea meds into that guy's drink. Yeah.
Right. I just love because you never know what it's going to be. You never know what the effect's going to be. And that's where I think the creativity comes in with these movies because like they figure something out where it's like, okay, well, we need this thing to happen. How do we get this thing to happen? And like what ordinary household item are we going to make get us there? So I love that like little thought process of it.
I think my favorite is that there's always a theme song that plays when the cool stuff happens. And so whenever you hear the theme song, you're like, yeah.
It's about to go down.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the spy always drinks some kind of liquor, but they never get drunk.
No, never.
Right? Like he's sitting and drinking whiskey straight at God knows what hour of the night, typing away these random emails to Job. From Job.
To and from Job. Yeah,
he never gets drunk and he figures it all out and he has his wits about him no matter what. And like that's every spy has their drink. I think Bond was always gin martini.
Shaken, not stirred.
Right. I think Bond actually does get really drunk in one of the later movies, but when he's not,
there's like 20
he's
movies.
Not doing
he's got to be
so
drunk
well.
at some point.
He was mentally, having a hard time.
Well, Ethan does hallucinate in this movie a couple times.
That's true.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's an effect that alcohol
true. He
has.
Does.
But one other, it's not necessarily specific to spies, but it is to when like a job needs to be done. You always have the leader who has like morals about him. We are not killing on this job. And so Gene Reno takes the one guy like hostage and he's about to kill him. And Tom Cruise is like, no, you can't kill.
No
There's
bodies.
No bodies. Because he has to be like the morally fit person. And there's always that guy who's extremely immoral that was brought into this group who doesn't belong there at all. And you have the same thing in Baby Driver.
Yes.
Right. You get this guy who doesn't belong in this group, but they need his experience somehow, and they're just going to use it and then hopefully get rid of him before like mistakes happen. In this situation, it's kind of cool that like Gene Reno was also a guy that was used earlier, and he wasn't just brought in and like made mistakes. Like he wanted mistakes to happen because he was part of the previous job.
Yep. And he's an excellent helicopter pilot.
Excellent. He also plays almost the same exact character in the movie Ronin with Robert De Niro. It's he didn't try too hard in this one.
That's like the movie The Hangover.
What is?
Zach Galifianakis doesn't quite belong.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh,
And they
But
try
he's
to
needed
corral
in the
him.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Which gadget from this movie would you want? And
The
like is the most
gum.
practical? You want the gum? You want
Oh,
Most
it?
give me
practical?
the
No.
gum.
Most practical is the glasses.
Glasses is good. Those glasses exist now, so you
But
can use that.
yeah, but I also like don't know what I would use it for. I also don't know what I
Yeah.
would use the gum for, to be honest with you.
The magnetic wrench.
Yes.
Remember the magnetic wrench?
Yes.
He sticks it through the grate in order to undo the grate and go down from the ceiling. That is
Absolutely
Yeah, that's a
brilliant.
good
genius
one.
because you could unscrew things through walls. It'd be very easy. That was by far the one gadget I'm like, oh, I think I'd actually like use that in the house
Yeah.
daily. The gum's
I would
cool, but like
also I would do the nausea pen so everyone can know how I felt the first 14 weeks of my pregnancy. You all have to experience it.
I would also use that to add like liquid IV to my water at work instead of
Yeah.
bringing in a packet.
I just drank our last liquid IV today.
Yeah, I know. I went to get some.
Did you guys notice the credits, the opening credits?
Yeah, no Emilio Estevez.
So
No, I read that it spoils like 7 different things, but I didn't
the whole
notice
movie.
it in real time. I didn't notice it in real
every
time.
single Mission Impossible movie, the opening credits show you clips from every major scene in the whole movie.
That's
right there.
iconic.
So all 7 of them do it, and if you know what you're watching, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I see it all." But like when you don't know, it doesn't actually ruin anything for the movie because you're just watching like short clips of the whole
That's
thing.
like the
But they do that
mole.
in every movie.
It is like the mole.
They give it away. They give clues away of who the
Yeah.
mole
That's probably
is.
that's probably where the mole got it from.
Definitely.
Do you think there's another good actor? So Tom Cruise had like a really strong like first run in his career, Oscar nominations, like serious roles. Do you think there's another actor of like that caliber who has then pigeonholed themselves into such a specific role later in their career that like they almost purely do those movies? Like he rebuilt his career through Mission Impossible and has like become a star again, right? He brought back Top Gun now, but like it was all like through making more Mission Impossible movies. If he didn't make these movies, he wouldn't probably exist like in the way that he does now.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Keanu already, but I think, and he was never like that height of like a prestige actor.
Right.
But I think he's right in this conversation because, like we said before, like John Wick, like he's now synonymous with John Wick.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he's gonna do from here. Like when the series like wraps up, is it? I don't know. I haven't seen the latest one, so like I don't know what happens. But assuming that he continues to do more movies related to John Wick, because there's like spin-offs and prequels too. So I don't know what's going on with all that either. But I don't know where he goes from here. Does he do more like what Liam Neeson did, where he's one of them maybe?
That's actually a great pick.
Because like once he did Taken, then he did Nonstop. He did The Commuter. He did like all these movies that are like the
Unknown.
Same thing.
The
Unknown,
wolf
yeah.
one.
The Gray was slightly different because it was like actiony, but it was like philosophical.
Yeah.
Still
Like,
though.
It's similar
Still
though.
action.
In
It is
turn, like
similar.
it fits in that category.
And they sold it like an action movie in like the
Definitely
marketing.
did.
Yeah. So, but like Liam Neeson has had I don't know if he's had a problem or if he's just enjoying making money, but he's one of those people that is kind of in that slot.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. Another interesting one who isn't necessarily doing the same thing, but has a little bit is Denzel, because he just made his third. It's I just lost it. What's the Equalizer movie, right? And so I think he just enjoys those movies and being that character. And he's obviously still doing a lot of other things that are more acting based and less actiony.
Like Fences and Tragedy of Macbeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's also doing the High and Low Akira Kurosawa remake with Spike Lee, which is scary.
And he's doing Othello too.
Yeah, so he loves the acting sides of things, but he has found his like action movie that he is going back to like every time.
Yeah, he's equalizing both sides of his career.
And then, is there another movie series there's one immediately off the top of my head that gets more and more ridiculous as it goes along, but somehow actually gets better as it goes along. I know you guys haven't seen the other Mission Impossibles, but I think um, it. I think a lot of people would agree that like they actually do get a lot better as they go along.
Yeah, my like conceptualization of the series is that it does get better.
Yeah. Fast and Furious obviously is like the one that immediately comes to mind, that it starts out as this small thing and then it
Like,
becomes
yeah.
so obscenely big. But that
What
doesn't get
about
better.
what about the Evil Dead series?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Because
I
it
love that
starts
it
as
just
a horror movie,
Yeah.
and
straight up.
then the second one, and then definitely the third one, and they did a show that was kind of meta, and it just becomes more and more absurd.
That's
Did we
actually a
watch
great pick. Yeah.
Did we watch Evil Dead 1 together, Aaron, or
I
just
I
2?
think we did maybe both. I don't know. We
Because
definitely watched two.
I would say that we only watched 2 because in the beginning of 2 it just recaps the first movie, but it makes it different.
That's so
Like
fun.
it
Yes.
just like retcons the whole
Yep.
first movie, because like in the first movie Bruce Campbell's character is like a dork, and he's the one who survives, but like he's like not cool. And then in the recap in the second one they make him like he's this
Really
like
cool.
badass like
Yeah.
suave cool guy,
Mhm.
and that's what he is for the rest of the series.
Right.
It's fun.
I would
that
agree with that.
actually, so Evil Dead, and then I guess just in general, like horror movies do that.
Yes.
Right, like the horror genre I think is built for that, where like each one can get progressively more ridiculous in a way, but
Mhm.
also like the absurdity makes it better because
Yes.
you're buying into, and that's why you watch The Nun 4, right?
Right.
Or you're watching Freddy
Haven't
vs.
caught that one
Jason
yet.
or whatever, whatever
Mhm.
like is your go-to horror movie. They get more ridiculous and you're like more into it if
Jason
that is
X.
your
Why
thing.
am I watching Jason in space?
Right, exactly. I think speak of Jason, the Bourne movies got bigger as they went along, but I don't think watching back the cinematography in them is like so shaky.
Oh my
I don't know
god.
if you've seen them, Tom. I don't know if you've seen them, Aaron.
We saw the
Um,
first one.
It's really funny you say that because we're currently watching Roadhouse,
Oh,
which
okay.
is the same director. And I said
The
to
new
Tom, "Oh,
Roadhouse, or
great, yeah, the new
New
one."
the
one.
new
And I'm
Roadhouse.
like,
Okay.
"Great, it's just like Jason Bourne movies where I'm gonna throw up."
Yeah, they're kind of tough to watch now, and at the time, I think
Yeah.
they were like cutting edge,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and interesting. And now looking back, they're really difficult to kind of pay attention to without getting dizzy and nauseous.
Mhm.
And
It's like a way to make you feel like you're there, and also like to hide the action so that they didn't have to
exactly
make it crisp.
right.
And it's just it
Whereas
seems like a cop out at this point.
definitely when you have people like Keanu who are doing hand-to-hand combat and like actually doing it,
Yeah.
it was a way to not show all of it. But it doesn't work in like the same way now.
Right.
It's a tough watch. And I think they tried to bring Matt Damon back in the last one. It was like 2015, 2016, and it didn't hit well again because you
Mhm.
have so many other movies that are in that area that are just better. You have at that point you already have John Wick, right? It's just
Yep.
better. You just watch that if you want to watch hand-to-hand combat and like spies and like this entire other world. If you want to watch real stunts, you can watch Mission Impossible. If you want to watch cars, go watch Fast and Furious. So you have other things and avenues to get into other than like just Jason Bourne, who
You want to watch Denzel? Watch The Equalizer.
exactly. And then my last, I guess, big question is like what your guys' opinion on CGI and like versus like real stunts in like today's films are. Like how do you perceive does someone doing real stunts and like using or like not even necessarily stunts but using real props and using less CGI make you enjoy the movie more? I think
Mhm.
Asteroid City did that really well, and
Oh, really?
all of their. I'm pretty sure it was Asteroid City did a lot of like acting on a stage, moving things. I could be wrong.
Don't ask my dad. He hated that movie.
But like there's a way to do like realistic props and whatnot and realistic scenes versus like we're just gonna get some CGI going on here.
I much prefer movies with practical effects, real stunts, and real like actual things that are being done there, and creativity that's being used. We always Tom and I always talk about that.
Yeah.
the one movie that comes to mind that really we talked about it on the podcast was A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
Yeah.
With the way that like the bed flipping, like I watched the whole thing on how they crafted that room when like Johnny Depp's character, there's like that fountain of blood,
Right.
and like how they like turned the whole house, and then they like poured the blood down so it looked like it was coming up, but in actuality it was coming down from the roof.
Yeah.
I just think it adds so much creativity in the same way that I watch older movies and I'm like, sometimes I find them a lot more interesting stylistically because they had so much less to work with than we have now. It's almost like we have so much that we can use now that everything ends up looking the same.
Well, that's like when you guys had talked about on the Halloween podcast, but like the first Halloween, like what they used in order to film that movie. It's
light
the
and
way
shadow.
that the shadows,
which is so cool that they, like you said, they use what they had. In these movies, they don't necessarily use what they have as they go along. I sent you a couple stunts between him like climbing a tower. I guess they technically had the tower. Strapping himself to a plane or jumping off a cliff. They had to like build up the cliff in order to like create a ramp that he can actually jump off of. But like the movies are created around like, we have this stunt. How can we build this into the movie? And it's mostly like Tom Cruise. I have learned how to hold my breath for 5 minutes. How can we put this in the movie? Oh, well, actually, we're going to have you jump into this tank and swim down to the bottom. And you're going to have to hold your breath before the tank drains. And you get out this like secret card that's being stored there. So they build.
It's like what he did with the train.
Yeah.
When he was like, all right, well, I'm going to get this random skydiving machine that there's only one of in Europe, and I'm going to use it so that we can simulate me getting blown off this train.
Absolutely. And he did the same thing in Edge of Tomorrow. So in a movie that easily could just be only CGI.
Built for CGI,
literally built for CGI. I was watching like 2 days ago, they were showing the making of, and they built real suits. And they actually had them run through like the sandy beaches and stuff. And it wasn't just like a green screen with them in like that suit with all the golf balls all over, which they easily could have made it. And it probably
like
would have looked
capture.
Very similar. And people wouldn't have noticed, and they would have just watched it, and it would have made the no money that it made anyway. But but they used practical effects, which I think makes it like more endearing that they went to like lengths to like create something for you as a viewer instead of them just putting it together. Like I never watched Avatar because
that's okay.
I just looked at it as like if they wanted to make this movie, they could just made it animated, like the whole movie as an animated movie.
Gully.
They did. It was also called Avatar.
And I probably would have enjoyed that movie. I don't need to see like a mix of animation necessarily.
Yeah. Unless it's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that
that animation's great.
Yes. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Great.
Yeah, I think I'm set. Yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
It's been a long time coming.
Oh,
did you have fun?
The most fun. 2 things.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice Kittredge's S's and how close he spoke to everyone in the movie? No. Okay. So I just thought that was a funny way to like make him look like a jerk. Like he's like
he did look
CGI
like a jerk.
head, and the way he just acted, but he had this very like he really pronounced his S's
like a snake.
Whispered. Yes, like a snake.
And then he wasn't even a snake.
No, he actually wasn't. He just wasn't a very nice guy. The close-ups in the movie, they continue in every single movie. So it doesn't matter what director does it. Anytime,
is it when they're like tilted too?
Yeah. So anytime 2 characters, it's always Tom Cruise and then like the villain or a villain are talking, and it's one telling you what's happening, and then Tom Cruise guessing in between,
reacting,
guessing and like knowing and then you did this, and then you had this happen, I get it now. And it's always close-ups. It doesn't matter who the director is. And then the movie had payphones, and I thought that was funny because they used payphones quite often, and that's just like such a relic of the past, and I don't think that a lot of people watching this movie, if they're like younger, would
even know
have such a feeling about having to go use a payphone as we might.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you guys.
We will have you on for Mission Impossible 2 or 3 if we skip
don't
2.
have to do 2.
Now we
in the
kind of
future?
do have to do
We
We
two.
kind of do.
We could honestly
Um,
do like 2 through 7.
All in one.
All in one episode.
Yeah, so hopefully we will have you on again soon because it was a long time coming. This was episode 90, episode 90. So for those of you who don't know and you've gotten this far in the episode, we've known Nick for like 14 years now. So we like talk to him every single day. So it was a very long time coming to get him on the podcast.
Next time it'll be in person.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be.
So, a bunch of babies running around.
Yeah.
So does Mission Impossible make baby's first watch list?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It does, and it does like whenever because
Yeah, it's really not that
Yeah.
like. Ooh.
what's he gonna what's he we could put it on for our toddler tomorrow, and he's not gonna know anything that's going on. He's gonna be like, oh, gum. He's gonna like learn one word from the movie and just say it over and over again. Yeah, I don't think there's anything other than like technically violence and people getting killed. There's like nothing in here that's like, you know, content wise that you wouldn't be able to show in it. It's just that Roger Ebert, the film critic of all film critics, didn't understand this movie. So it's not like if you wait until the kid's 17, they're gonna know exactly what happened in this whole movie.
No,
So
it's just for fun.
it's just for fun. And then maybe he'll start humming the music.
Yeah.
Amanda's been humming it for the past like 48 hours.
It's good stuff. I actually learned it on piano when I was taking lessons in middle school.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for listening to our Mission Impossible episode. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at Baby's First Watch List. The clip I posted yesterday from our Across the Spider-Verse episode randomly got like 10,000 views on YouTube Shorts.
We're famous.
So the more you share our stuff, the more people see it, and the more people can engage with it. And we had a bunch of comments on there, and not a couple that I can't repeat here. But yeah, and continue to follow us on Letterboxd. I made one there if you didn't listen last week to Irish Wish, which I don't blame you. But if you're here now at BFW Podcast on Letterboxd, and next month's movies, I'm actually going to just drop them right now. We're going to be doing for Easter, which is this coming Sunday from when this episode will drop, we're going to do Donnie Darko. We're going to do the whole bunny vibe. Slightly inverse of the Easter bunny, but whatever. We're going to roll with it. Then we're going to do, because WrestleMania is in our area this year in Philadelphia, following week we're going to do 2023's The Iron Claw with Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White. Then we're going to do 10 Things I Hate About You just because it's like springy. I don't know.
Prom.
Yep. And then after that, Jurassic Park, because we haven't done a Spielberg in a while. We did Jaws, and then that's it. And then finally, to end the month, we're going to do The Sound of Music. This is like 3 hours long, but we're going to do it. So yeah, that's our schedule for next month. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in to Mission Impossible. Thanks again, Nick, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you guys soon.
Bye.